This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
And I'm Jason Hoover, sitting in for Carrie Ann with CMG Financial and My Mortgage Team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
You can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com. That's questions at talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Jason Hoover, back in the house, and
yes.
Dude, I don't envy you.
I don't either.
From the respect of, as amazing as you are, Carrie Ann Sear, to be replacing her on the show today, that ain't easy for just anybody. I don't know that very many people can handle that. Jim, do you think you can handle that?
No.
Don't you feel better now, Jason?
Yeah.
Much. Pressure's off a little bit.
Yeah, well, I know today we're going to talk about something, guys, that's so crucial. It's so critical.
It's one of my favorite topics.
That we start our foundations class discussing this very topic.
Yes. Before
we get into that, let's talk about our amazing sponsor. Jeez, I had a blank out there for a second. Amazing sponsor.
Music City Removal is the #1 junk removal service in Nashville. From residential, commercial, and construction, they're experts in ridding you of junk. Their costs include labor and dumping fees without any hidden and added expenses. Whether you need a full clean out or just one item removed, they have you covered.
The Music City Removal team knows the importance of respect and trust while in someone else's home. They understand the inconvenience of junk left behind by previous homeowners and tenants and are determined to provide an affordable and customer-focused junk removal service that puts you first. For a free on-site estimate, just go to musiccityremoval.com. That's musiccityremoval.com.
Music City Removal, because clutter ain't cute.
And we're sure missing our cutie pie today.
That is true. That is true.
Anyway, so I was sharing that we're going to be talking today about one of the most crucial things that I know of in the real estate industry, and that's speaking from 37 years of experience here, guys, and that is the topic of mindset.
Yes.
And how do we not just survive in today's real estate world, but how do we thrive in today's crowded real estate world, okay? And that starts, I think, with mindset.
It does, all day long. You got to have a positive, healthy mindset, or you're out of the game. And I go back to, I love baseball. That's no secret, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that, Jim, I enjoy baseball?
I've heard.
So I love baseball, but here's the thing. Baseball is not easy to hit.
No,
it is not easy to hit. And you hear about these fantastic batters, they'll have great stats, and then they go through a slump.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they go through a slump? It's like you already know how to hit the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens most of the time is, you'll just have a few down times at the plate. Well, then you start getting in your own head. When you get in your own head, it is tough. And sometimes the coach got to move you in the batting order or do something to just shake you up to get you back to where you were. And they call it a slump because you will come out of it, but it's not easy. And it all starts right here. It's not your skill. It's not like you forgot how to hit the ball. It's not your skill set. It all becomes a mind game. So, and that's the way it is in business. You got to have the right mindset. Yeah, you're going to have slumps. You're going to have times that you're not having the best, the best mindset. Things may be coming against you, maybe piling on, but you got to sometimes just take a moment and regroup. But here's the thing: we start out in the foundations about mindset because it goes way beyond that. And I'm happy to be sharing some of this stuff with everybody because it's important. It's important to your success.
Well, I know I agree. That you and I both agreed on this concept of coming from a place of abundance. Jason, we've kept all of our trainings open to all other agencies and because we have a commitment of trying to always raise the bar, and certainly we don't have all the answers, and embrace other offices, training our agents. I feel like if you're coming from a place of I want to contribute, I want to make a difference, and part of what I want to make a difference in is the reputation of our industry by raising the bar of our industry so that so we're more likely to have the consumer say no to a cheap effort, no to a lousy buyout effort, and yes to the real estate process to help maximize for the value in the least amount of hassle in the shortest amount of time. That doesn't happen with a faceless, corporation. It happens with a heartfelt commitment coming from a real estate professional. Yep. So that's why, why we come back to helping. We want to help our agents have that right mindset. I love what you just pointed out to us just a minute ago, and that was what Napoleon Hill said, 100 years ago, roughly. He said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. I mean, there's so much in that statement. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let me share a real quick story on that topic, because I had been in business for about 2 years. This was back in the mid-'80s, guys. Many of you weren't even on the planet at that time. And I had my second year in business. I made $50,000. That was the most money I'd ever made in my entire life. Some of you have heard the story, but anyway, that year, somebody came up to me, and said that I'll bet you could make a six-figure income. Now I know it sounds silly today. What does that mean? What's a six-figure income? I wrote it down and I said, Shazam, just like Jim's board says, Shazam. I said, Shazam. And I said, dang, that'd be a whole lot of money. I couldn't imagine that. $100,000. Now, keep in mind, my average sale price was $64,000, and I was on a 50-50 split back then because that's almost the only choice you had. And, so I knew I had to sell around 100 homes. This is my third year in business. And so I did the reverse engineer, which was pretty easy at that point, because each closing was worth around around $1,000. And I realized I had to sell all that real estate. So I laid into how many homes per week, per month, and so forth that I was going to have to sell. Long story short, into that year, I closed and that many transactions, and I earned $100,000. Now, to again, this phrase, whatever the mind can conceive and believe and achieve, it can achieve rather. I took it to the next level and said, well, dang, if I can make $100,000, I'll bet I can make $200,000, Jason. And that simply, that just naively, I broke it down. And I said I can make $200,000. Now, at that point in time, we didn't have a lot of the technology we do now, of course. And so, first of all, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to sell that many homes. So I knew I needed to increase my portion per transaction. So I went to my broker and said, hey, I need a better split than 50-50. He laughed at me. He said, well, nobody gets better than 50-50. And at that time, you didn't hear that. Well, I'd heard of a company that did pay their agents 100%, and I went to that company. In that year, I ended up making over $200,000, my fifth year in real estate. So my point of that is simply, I know for a fact, you cannot tell me otherwise, Jason Hoover, that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. I know that.
Yes.
This company is a result of that. I'm just going to be transparent here. And several folks in our company know that my goal is to develop a $1 billion company. I know the numbers, what that's going to take. And here I'm declaring this, okay? I wasn't planned at all. I'm declaring that by December 8th, 2022, which is my birthday, my 70th birthday, we will have a $1 billion company. And I'm basing that on the confidence and faith and so forth that I'm surrounded with our organization, but also with the heart and commitment of whatever the mind can conceive and believe, because I believe it, I know I can achieve it.
And that's the key, is the belief part. Conceiving, it's a little bit better than just thinking that you can do it or thinking that you want it. And this quote rings true and has rang true so many years, similar to your experience, is that I've always had this desire and this drive ever since my brother, I was 18, handed me the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was my very first self-help book.
Wow.
Sorry. And it changed my world, completely changed my world. And if there was ever a pivotal moment, it was that, as far as I started figuring out what I loved. But it is that belief that takes time. And I'm sure you've been in the boat too. There's been times that I'm like, I firmly believe in something, and it seems like I'm going the opposite way. And it's and you've heard some, our story, getting to this point. It was very, very hard, and so when you have this belief and you're trying to tell your wife, no, I've got this goal and I'm going to make this happen. And then you lose your house, or you're selling your house, you're selling your stuff, and you're, going backwards. It's kind of hard. But that's why I firmly believe, because I don't know how many times I said, or I gave up, I'd give up for an hour. Then I get back to work.
I've given up. Everybody. I mean, if you're not giving up once in a while, you're not trying hard enough, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, your goals aren't big enough. But now, along the way, we're seeing the fruits of that labor and that belief, just like you are, and just like Jim is. We're seeing those fruits, and we're not done yet. We still have high goals. I mean, and this is, talking about mindset, you got to have something that's going to remind you constantly. And just if you're truly going to buy into it, you're truly going to believe it, it will come to fruition, but you've got to have it constantly reminding you, and whatever that may be. Some people, I've heard, they'll keep like a certain kind of coin in their pocket or a rock in their pocket. Some people have it written on their notes. I mean, all different things. Mine is a 4-digit number. It's 2740, 2740. I'm always repeating 2740 all day long. Everything I do, 2740.
Well, I got to know what that stands for.
So multiply 2740 by 365. You got it?
Hold on. 2740
by 365.
1,100,000.
So my goal is to, in all of my different investments and business, and I want to make $2,740 a day.
Wow.
That will put me at where I can literally say over $1 million a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
So my number or what reminds me constantly is 2740.
I love that. Don't you love that?
Yeah.
That's a great, easy to remember.
It's what we call reducing it to the ridiculous.
Yes.
Very
much so.
What's the hourly on that?
So I want to remind everybody, though, that's thinking about, stretching themselves out for something like this, a crazy, wild and crazy goal, or whatever you want to call it, is that, just want to give you a warning, just take it for whatever it's worth. This is what I have found out, is that life will challenge you when you make a declaration. The universe will say, are you really sure you want to have, live in divine health, or that you want to prosper, or that you want to stop a habit, or whatever? Are you sure you want to? Because what I've witnessed over the years is that life will challenge you. And whether you call it life, whether you call it universe, whether you call it, whatever you call it, it will. All I know is it will challenge you, because I'll never forget when that second year when I wasn't anywhere near my goal of $200,000. I remember going out and sitting next to I bought a home on the water with a pool, because I was making so much money, and that sold for $150,000 back then. It would sell for probably $1 million now.
Probably so, yeah.
But I remember having that heart to heart with myself and saying, okay, I am nowhere near what I thought it was going to be. And I knew enough about goals to know that I either need to change my goal or change my trajectory, my commitment to that goal. And rather than change the goal, I changed the focus. I changed the commitment. I changed the energy going towards that goal. And I hunkered down and I really got serious about it. But I just want to give everybody a heads up that don't be surprised if you make a declaration in that space that you're not challenged in the process.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you something, Monty, real quick?
Yeah.
Do you regret buying that house now, looking back on it?
That $150,000 waterfront home?
Yeah.
I regret selling it. But that was one of the divorces, what can I say?
Oh my God.
I fall back on, I would have lost in a divorce anyhow, but no, I'm just kidding.
So
I'm not
speaking
kidding,
of divorces, well, and let me share a little bit more on like that number. So whenever I sit down with agents in the foundation class and we talk about the goals and what you want to accomplish, is that the number just represents what's important to you.
Right.
So you're not married to the number. It's just like a ring. It represents a bond. It represents the marriage. All right, and that's what the number is. Your goal. Whatever that may be. Maybe you want to make 100,000, 200,000. The 200 represents what really matters to you.
Correct.
And then we dive in, even further about the power behind understanding what motivates you. Because if you're just motivated by that number, then it's going to be easier to quit.
Yeah, you've got to attach that number to the options that number will give you in life.
Right.
You've got to attach that number to the freedoms. One of the reasons why I wanted to prosper at that time was I wanted to be able to give to more ministries, to be honest with you, just to be transparent. I knew that prosperity in my world meant to be able to abound to every good work, to be able to give where there was a need that I felt connected to, that I felt committed to. I couldn't do that if I was, living the life that I had been living most of my life, and that was a factory worker on unemployment half the time. I like options.
Yeah.
And that's, when I say that we're going to have $1 billion company, it has nothing to do with the money. I don't even know what that translates into. When you're giving your agents 100% of your commission, it's really not some big, huge, monstrous number. I could make a heck of a lot more selling real estate. But what it does represent, the outcome of that number represents to me one of the few companies in town that are $1 billion companies, first of all, which translates into my hope anyhow is because with the commitment that we have, and there's some other great offices in town. I'm not making us totally exclusive by any stretch, but I want to be in that top group that not only sells $1 billion worth of real estate per year, helps that many families. See, when I was doing my own thing, the most I ever sold in 1 year by myself was 120 homes. And then the most that I ever sold with a small team was around 300 homes. We did that 2 years in a row. Last 2 years we're at the company with the balloon. But now to be able to have an organization that can produce the number of transactions that would equal $1 billion, if you look at $400,000 average, that means that there's 2,500 families are going to be influenced. Ultimately, even indirectly, as what I'm looking for the word. Indirectly by me, it's going to be affected by me. And my hope is if we've raised the bar, Jason, like we intend on raising the bar in our industry, and at least in our family of professionals, because we have agents that are committed to doing the next right thing. We have professionals that we're agents that are now committed to becoming, being professionals, that we've influenced the experience of 2,500 families in a positive way overall. We're not going to make everybody happy, we know that, but overall, 2,500 families, $1 billion worth of local real estate, that blesses my heart, okay? Yeah. That can be the legacy that I can leave behind, that these agents, that our family of professionals remembers the tall gray-haired guy made a difference in their life. I told two brand new agents today on our onboarding, look guys, my hope is first of all, I can't, like you always say at the classes, the foundation classes, I can only provide the environment for you. You got to bring the hustle. I'll bring the training. You got to bring the hustle. I'll bring the knowledge. You got to bring the hustle. I'll bring the technology. You got to bring the hustle. Okay?
Right.
I cannot force anybody to success. I can hopefully, though, do a great job in creating an environment where they will choose success.
Right.
And if they've chosen success at the level that we're sharing, the expertise that we're sharing from, then hopefully we have raised the bar. We have made a difference in over 2,500 families' lives here in Middle Tennessee. And that's really what that $1 billion. And it was so. I didn't even think about it until you said that it's not about the money. It's got to mean something. It's got to, whether it brings freedom or whether it brings options or whether it brings ability to give or whatever the situation is. And that's what that $1 billion means to me is I know we're going to be able to touch at least 2,500 families and overall do an outstanding job.
Yeah. And that's a big goal. But you believe it.
Oh, absolutely.
And because you believe it, I have buy-in to it, because I know that whenever you're committed to something, you do it.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some of these things that I share in the class.
Please.
And, we won't do as deep of a dive because we spend 2 hours on this alone. But first thing is, and I think it's interesting, you worked at a factory, right?
I did.
Yeah, so did I.
Really?
Who would have known? Yeah. That was my first job right out of high school.
Okay, that was mine out of high school.
Yeah, I was building trailer hitches.
I was working for Caterpillar Tractor Company.
Okay.
Does that mean you were pouring them into a mold, or you were actually building?
No, I actually I did the plasma cutter where you actually cut the steel out. Actually did the punch press. I did the painting. I did everything from when they brought in the sheets to I even did the warehouse. All of it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I was even bolt up where you actually put them together. So I literally built trailer hitches.
We may need to talk. I need to put one on.
But here's the thing, so I start off with this is that the biggest challenge with agents is the mindset. It's shifting the mindset from a W-2 to a 1099 mindset. Because that's probably the biggest hurdle.
Such a gap.
It is. It's
such a gap.
Huge gap. And so we covered that quite a bit about what does that look like and how is it different? Because a 1099, as you know, it's you can put in the work and not necessarily eat next week.
Right.
Right. Whereas W-2, you're told everything to do.
Right.
And then they say, because you do this, I will give you this much money.
I'm going to give you just enough to keep you here.
Right. Yeah.
And you're going to work just hard enough to keep the job.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the relationship.
And so that's what in your shifting from that security to something else that you can create greater things. So, and I'm not knocking W-2. I mean, that's built for some people. Me, I always say I'm unhireable now. I can't go back and work for somebody.
I gotta share a quick story on that. When I moved here, it was tough. Okay, I went from where I was number one agent in Brevard County, Florida, to Nashville, Tennessee, where everybody already had half a dozen realtor friends, and they didn't care about what I had accomplished there. But anyhow, so in my not desperation, but in my getting my sea legs underneath me, I went to a job fair, and they had you fill out a form of what you're looking for, what your experience is, and what you want to make. Well, I put a minimum of $80,000. They threw that in the garbage. They said, I'm sorry, you're not hireable. So when you say I'm not hireable, they told me I wasn't hireable. I wasn't going to make $80,000 when the average income was.
I just beat them to the punch on that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so that's so we talk about the W-2 mindset, and then we dive into, and I'm just taking bits and pieces from all of this. We dive into the info diet. So the info diet, just like whenever you're going through a diet, you try to eat healthy, you try to eat right, you exercise, you focus more on what's going to help you feel better nutrition wise, but. Well, your information diet is the same thing.
Absolutely.
So it's going to affect your mind, how you think. So what are you reading?
Right.
What are you watching? Who are you listening to? Who are you hanging around with? Every single thing affects you.
All matters.
We're constantly changing. And I even dive in and create a little stick man, and we talk about the conscious and subconscious mind, about the bits of information that, from your conscious mind. You have, like you're listening to us, and, I can see Jim has a blue shirt on, you got a black shirt on, I'm focusing, so that's in my conscious mind. The subconscious is everything else. Well, it's extremely different between the amount of information that you take in on the subconscious versus the conscious. And that's why it's important about being intentional of what you're listening to, who you're around. And if you want to be an investor, hang around investors, read things about investments, start focusing, and you'll start becoming an investor. And, you've heard the saying, I mean, you'll find what you're looking for, good or bad, you'll find it and you'll become it. So we talk about the info diet, and especially in this business, you're going to have hard times. So what are you feeding yourself? Are you going to be healthy when you hit the hard times, or are you already going to be on your life support?
Right.
So
or are you going to wait till you get there and then try to start building yourself up?
Exactly.
You're probably not going to work so well. It might.
Right.
But it won't work as well as if you've been building yourself up all along.
Correct. Yep. And so that's why you've got to be intentional about it. And so then we go into, your programming, because that is programming who you are. Constant, every single second of the day, we're programming right now. Your brain, it's plastic, so it molds. The neurons that are fired together wire together, and so that's what causes habits, and whether good habits or bad habits. And so just like in diet wise, I had created a habit of eating a snack at night. Well, now I've cut that out. I'm already down 11 pounds.
Holy cow!
Yeah, so I cut that out. I'm not going crazy, running, because I really hate running. But just cutting out certain things and being healthier. Same thing with your mind. We got to treat our mind better. So we talk about programming, because programming, and we go through the whole cycle.
Man, I'm so glad you do this. And I need to. Could I attend a class sometime?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I would. I've had to learn all this on myself to think that you're actually bringing this to brand new agents at such a crucial time. Because that is setting the foundation of their future in this industry and in life. It's going to affect their entire life. Absolutely.
Every part of their life is effective. In same way with us. That's why I love it. I love, it goes back to that, our environment. You have to be in the environment that's going to help your business grow. And it's important about who you're around. I think, was it Dr. Covey that said you're a
product of your environment?
Was it product of your environment, or you are a sum of the 5 people you hang around?
You are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah, and that's what he's talking about, because they influence you. Everything is going to change who you are. So, and then we break it down to leverage. We talk about the leveraging out, and really focusing on what the business mindset about, I'm paying somebody to do my contract to close rather than doing my contract to close. Well, yeah, I'm paying money, but my hourly rate goes up.
That's a business mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's why we talk about creating that mindset for building a successful business, because, and we start off with that class because it's so important.
How do people respond to it typically?
So far, I haven't had anybody throw rocks at me, so it's good.
Let me ask you this: both of you coming from a blue collar background, right?
Yeah.
Now this is Jim getting into interview mode.
Uh-oh.
You coming from a factory, Monty, Jason, I didn't know you built trailer hitches.
Yes.
And it's funny because you reveal that, and all of a sudden it dawned on me that did you realize if someone went back in time and told you that Jason, that this is what you'd be doing now, what would you say?
That's a good question, because I always knew I was different. And it was just the environment I was in, because I even sat down with the plant manager, and told him, because he mentioned something about he went to the local college there, which was a tech college, and to me that was a big deal. And I'm like, so I sat down and asked him about it. So I actually would believe you if somebody would have told me that, because I just didn't feel right.
Right. You didn't feel like you were doing what you were meant to do. How about you, Monty? I mean,
Same thing. I hated my job, but I would work every hour of overtime that I could get. I'd work 16 hours a day. I hated it. I mean, just hated it, because I felt like a monkey could be doing this. And it wasn't until somebody at church noticed that my socks, you could see my socks and coming out part of my shoe one time. And he handed me $100 bill, and he said, Monty, go buy yourself a new pair of shoes. You'll feel a lot better about yourself. And he handed me a book by Zig Ziglar called See You at the Top.
I love that book.
And and that book, conveyed to me the message that life will pay whatever you demand of it. And so in my finite understanding, what I did is I went out and got more jobs, not realizing that wasn't the answer, but it was shocking to me. I didn't come from any sort of, not even blue collar family probably. And I mean, my father was an alcoholic. My mother worked some menial job, And so just that was so enlightening to find out that life will pay whatever you demand of it, but you've got to make the demand. And so I started making the demand, and I before long I was working 3 jobs, and that's what opened the door actually for me to get into real estate, because my best friend's father owned a real estate company in another state, and he called me one time. He said, I heard you work a lot. If you're going to work three that many jobs, you ought to get into real estate. And I said, really? Is that what's required? And how much money can I make? Was the rest of the conversation. So yeah, I'm money motivated. But anyhow, no, that's an interesting topic.
So I'll share a story with you. I'd forgotten all about this until just now. Used to, when I was traveling for work, we had talked about back in the corporate, I would travel a lot, and I would pretend, this is going back to that, if you can believe it, I would pretend like I was flying to go do some training or speaking.
Wow.
And I would put that in my mind. And I know it sounds so silly, but that was how I made it real. Wow. And I remember this one time sitting on the tarmac, this girl behind me, I was eavesdropping, yes. But this girl was talking on the phone while we were waiting. I don't know who it was, but I was overheard her say something that really stuck with me. And this was years ago. And I don't remember it verbatim, but it was something to the effect that she was telling him that you got to act like you deserve it. You got to act like you deserve it before you get it. And that has stuck with me. It's like, all right, I've got to become the person I want to be before I am actually that person. And it was just so surreal that I was doing kind of the same thing, but when I heard that, I was like, it kind of changed my viewpoint on stuff. And so, yeah. That's
so true, though. I know, and you've heard me say that for me to have $1 billion company, I've got to become a $1 billion leader.
Right.
And I've got a long ways to go, I know, but I'm working on it constantly. I mean, constantly. That's what
But that's driving. A mindset. That's a mindset you have to have.
Because I know I'll never be a $1 billion company I never have a $1 billion company that's of significance anyhow. And that's without significance, it doesn't matter. So I've got this burning desire in my heart to be a $1 billion leader. And I know that takes a lot of effort. That takes a lot of work. But I've envisioned that. And that is what my goal is every day when I get up, is I've got to become a $1 billion leader. I've got to do the things $1 billion leaders do. And I think that, speaking to the real estate community, I think that that's what we have got to envision as well. Like you're talking about, you've got to envision yourself that successful realtor by that right mindset, but you've also got to follow that up with the proper training and understanding. Right. And not waiting and practicing on the customer, but just jumping in the deep end and learning everything you can, because we know that prosperity follows value. It doesn't follow hoping and wishing. And not long ago, one of the agents came to me, and one of the newer ones, and said, "I need to sell a house." And I said, "I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. It works about you becoming of value, and the market will seek you out. But you've got to become valuable. You got to do the things we're telling you to do. Then the home selling will happen. It doesn't happen because you're hoping and wishing for it or watching Property Brothers or whatever else."
Right.
Anyway, so this has been an interesting conversation.
Yeah. The selling a house or need to sell a house is confidence. They were telling you they needed confidence, right?
Yeah.
Because confidence is basically just a memory of success. Does that make sense?
True.
Yeah, and people can pick up on it if you're confident or not. And
they've got to buy you before they buy what you're selling.
Right. Absolutely. And the same way with employees, if you have a business, they've got to have buy-in to your vision. So if you're an agent and you don't have the vision that you are a professional, then your clients are not going to have that buy-in either. So
is everybody aware in your organization, Monty, that you want to be $1 billion company by a little over a year out?
Yeah, I did actually verbalize this a couple of weeks ago, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
And I did, and broke it down.
Did you get any pushback?
Any what?
Any pushback from the universe?
No. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a few people say, I'm going to retire my license or whatever, and that's cool. It's because they're not part of the organization that's going to be part of that, and that's absolutely cool. We're looking for the right people. We're not looking for everybody. We don't want everybody. There's 17,000 agents here in Middle Tennessee. We're looking for 312. That's the number that I need to have in place to do what we want to do, and do it in a way where everybody can be themselves. We're not just focusing on top producers. We're not focusing on brand new people. We're focusing on people that we can make a difference in their life. If I find somebody who's been selling, let's say 4 or 5 homes a year, and I can help them double that, Jason can help them double that, we've changed their life.
Yes.
We've totally changed their life and their future and their kids' life.
Right.
And their kids' education. Tell me that's not a huge reward.
Oh,
and that's
legacy.
That's the people that we, honestly, that's where my heart's at. It's kind of like the first-time buyer. I love working with the first-time buyer. I love working with the agent and helping. And don't get me wrong, I love agents that are selling. We have agents selling 50, 60 homes a year. Awesome people. There's nothing there. I love them, okay? But for personal gratification, just like that first-time buyer, if I can help somebody change their life, change their future, and change their kids' lives, that's a reward.
I agree.
Right on.
Well, guys, I think we've shared our hearts today,
Yeah.
and I appreciate everybody watching, and thank you for the privilege of investing this time in our experience here at the Talk of Music City Real Estate. We look forward to talking to you again in the future, and hopefully Miss Carrie Ann Sear will be sitting here in Jason Hoover's lap, and he won't have to, or not lap, in the chair, I'm sorry, in Jason Hoover's chair, and he won't have to wear those shoes because they've got to be some uncomfortable shoes. Anyway, love you, Carrie Ann, if you're watching. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you all soon.